Hello friends, welcome to Total Recaps. Today we are going to explain a movie named The Way Home, released in 2002. So sit with popcorn and enjoy this interesting drama/family film. This story is about an old mother whose daughter left her at the age of 17. There was no one to support that poor old mother, and slowly her body started getting weak. She could not even walk properly. Because of his weak spine, she had to walk bent over. When his daughter did not return to his village for many years, he thought it right to remain busy with the day's work, and many years passed like this. After this we see that his daughter is now 32 years old, and she also has a 7-year-old son named Sang-woo. Song-woo's mother was visiting her village after 15 years. Her son asks her how his grandmother is doing and whether she is hearing and seeing well, but his mother was clueless about any of his questions, as she herself did not know what had happened to her all these years. The two of them board a bus to their village, but on the way, the villagers let a baby chicken out of the cage, and it jumps on Sang-woo and his mother, leaving their clothes dirty. His son does not like this place at all, because there were many kucha roads in this village where a lot of mud used to fly. He begs his mother to walk him back home, but she scolds him and somehow brings him to his mother's house. Here we see his mother, who is now very old. She cannot speak and her hearing power is completely gone. His daughter apologizes to him as she never came to meet him all these years. She tells him that her husband divorced her, after which, due to lack of money, he had to close his shop and now he has no means to earn money. She tells her that it has become very difficult to find a job in the city. Now she is so much in debt that she cannot support her son, so she wants to leave Sang-woo with him for a few days. She tells that she will take him back when everything is fine in the city. His old mother was just listening to her, but they understood what she wanted to say. Sang-woo's mother tells them that she have to go to the city now. But the grandmother signals to her to rest for a while, but her daughter tells them that she cannot stay there any longer and leaves for the evening bus back to the city. Sang-woo, a city boy, doesn't like the village life at all. His mother had left him some clothes and food items which were available only in the city. Sang-woo's grandmother asks him to move in with her, but Sang-woo has never met her before, so he tells her to stay away. She gestures something by moving her hands, but Sang-woo doesn't understand her words, so he makes fun of her old age and also calls her dumb and deaf. Knowing this, which was quite unusual in itself, grandmother feels very bad, after which grandmother started going ahead alone. Sang-woo follows them, but he was pretending like he is not following them. At night they both have dinner together. His grandmother also gives him his share of food. He was always playing video games and his grandmother used to watch him curiously but never said anything to him. There was no toilet facility in his village, so Sang-woo had to toilet inside a pot which his grandmother used to clean with her own hands. Sang-woo saw him carrying 2 buckets every morning. There was a poise inside him, as if he had lived through the good and the bad moments of his life. One day a boy comes to her house and he asks Sang-woo to play with him, but he declines as he prefers to be alone. His grandmother never told him anything, just gave him whatever he needed, but after a few days, Sang-woo was fed up of being alone. One day he goes to the village below his house and does not see anyone who can play with him. He comes back exhausted. Her grandmother used to sew in her spare time. She asks her grandson to thread the needle as he had weak eyes and could not see properly. Sang-woo puts on the thread and starts playing the video game again, but whenever the thread runs out, she asks Sang-woo to thread the needle again. Sang-woo was very irritated with her. His battery runs out while playing games. Sang-woo asks his grandmother for some money so that he can buy new batteries, but his grandmother had spent her life in poverty and did not have that much money. Sang-woo tells them that he will return their money after telling his mother, but his grandmother refuses once again by gesturing with her hands. Sang-woo gets angry with them and tells them that they are of no use and pushes them away and runs away. On not getting the money, he starts considering his grandmother as his enemy. He hides his slippers, because of which he had to climb high every day barefoot. She washes his toilet pot with great effort, which he kicks and breaks. Sang-woo needed the battery anyhow. He takes out the hairpin from his grandmother's head and goes to the market so that he can sell it and buy a battery. He asks a man the way to the battery shop. When he reaches the shop, the shopkeeper shows him some batteries, but none of them fit his video game, as they only fit mercury cells, which are round in shape. The shopkeeper tells him about another shop, but there too the battery was not there. Sang-woo thinks that he didn't get the battery, so why not sell the hairpin and eat burgers or noodles? He was not going to return it to his grandmother, but the grocer refuses to take the hairpin because it had no value in the market. Sang-woo then starts to return home dejected, but he has come so far from the village that he does not know how to go back. He had lost his way and starts crying loudly, but then he sees a man who lived near his village. He drops Sang-woo on his bicycle to her village. Sang-woo was standing on the way when he saw that his grandmother was waiting for him. She starts going ahead on seeing him. Sang-woo asks her where she is going, and upon hearing that, she starts walking back home. Sang-woo also starts walking along with them. The next day her grandmother washes her clothes and spreads them in the sun to dry, but then it rains and they start getting wet. Sang-woo first takes them down, and when the sun comes out again, he puts 2 clothes clips on his clothes. But Wycliffe does not put on his grandmother's clothes, realizing that they might be blown away by the wind. His grandmother didn't have any more clothes to wear, so he puts a clip on that too. His grandmother asks him, "What will you have for dinner?" On which he asks them to bring pizza burger. But grandma didn't know about the city's food. Sang-woo shows them the photo of pizza burger and they are clueless. After all, he makes the sound of a chicken and asks them to bring fried chicken. His grandmother immediately leaves for the city with some melons, as she was going to get something for him only after selling them. When Dottie comes back from the market, it was raining heavily and she was all wet. He was feeling very cold. But she somehow cooks chicken for him. Sang-woo had fallen asleep while waiting. Dottie wakes her up and tells her that they have made her favorite food. They thought Sang-woo would like it very much, but he wanted restaurant fried chicken and not a piece of boiled meat. He refuses to eat it and starts crying loudly. His grandmother gets upset because her grandson didn't like the food she cooked. This is how evening turns to morning. Sang-woo was very hungry. He eagerly eats the chicken cooked by his grandmother. He sees that his grandmother is lying down. Actually, he also did not eat food last night. When he comes to her, she has high fever because she got wet in the rain while coming back from the market. He puts a bandage on their head so that their fever will go down quickly and warms them up for last night's dinner. He sees that his grandmother has folded a spoon into her hair instead of the hairpin in her head. Seeing this, Sang-woo returns her hairpin. He then comes to a field below the village where a girl was playing a house game by collecting food packets. He likes the girl. The next day he and his grandmother go to the market because grandmother used to earn some money by selling her homegrown melons in the market. That day they wait for a long time for the bus to the market, but that bus does not come and they have to walk there. His grandmother starts selling melons in the market. Sang-woo was standing behind the wall watching them, and it was a heart-touching sight in itself. His grandmother could not sell all the melons, but she had collected some money. She buys Sang-woo new shoes and treats him to his favorite food at a nice hotel, but she herself only drinks water to save money. There Sang-woo sees a shop where all kinds of batteries were available, but he knew that all the money had been spent. That's why he doesn't insist. After this, both of them start leaving for their home. Grandma can't find a bus home, but the bus conductor calls her and helps her catch the right bus. He tells Dottie that one of his friends has a lot of pain in his feet, so he should go and meet her once. Grandma was going to meet her friend, so she asks Sang-woo in gestures that what do you want to eat? He sees a girl eating chocopaya and she also wanted to eat the same. Grandma picks up the wrapper of the chocopie that the girl had thrown because she didn't know what to say when she went to the store. She goes to her friend and asks him about his health. The old woman was very much troubled by her illness. Grandma shows them the wrapper and she packs 6 chocopayas for them. In return, Dottie gives them some money, but the lady refuses to take the money. But grandmother gives him some melons and the woman tells him that if he ever gets a chance, he should come again. Before either of us dies first. Dottie smiles a little hearing this and leaves from there. When she comes back on the bus, we see Sang-woo sitting with girls from the same village. He tells his grandmother that he will go alone so she should not come with him. His grandmother was standing outside the bus. She asks Sang-woo to take the remaining melons with him as they weigh too much, but Sang-woo refuses to take them with him. In such a short time the bus leaves and the grandmother is left behind. Sang-woo was sitting with that girl but she didn't talk to him, instead she was talking to her friend. Sang-woo had reached his home. He was waiting for his grandmother, but even after waiting for a long time, she does not come. He goes to the bus stand. There many buses come and go, but none had his grandmother. But after some time we see her coming on foot as she was the last bus to reach her village, which she had missed because of Sang-woo. She was carrying that load single-handedly from several kilometers away, which Sang-woo refused to take along. He realizes how wrong he has done. He immediately picks up his bag. Next day he again goes to play with that girl, but she was not there. He sees his friend who had a bundle of wood on his head. Sang-woo tells him to run fast, a cow is coming after you to kill you. Hearing this, the boy runs fast, but when he goes ahead, he falls. When he looked back, there was no one there. He gets very angry at Sang-woo, but Sang-woo runs away from there. He goes ahead and meets the same girl who tells him that she was looking for him. He is very happy to hear this, and after that he used to just smile the whole day. He sees that his hair has grown. He didn't like big hair. He asks his grandmother to cut his hair a little shorter. The grandmother starts cutting his hair, but gradually Sang-woo becomes drowsy and falls asleep. After some time his grandmother picks him up. He sees that his grandmother had cut her front hair very short, which was looking very bad. He starts crying loudly, because now he will not be able to meet that girl with such a face. He tries to hide his head with a cloth, but the grandmother used to keep her belongings in the same cloth. They both come to a sick man. This was the same man who had brought Sang-woo home when he got lost. The man says that he must die now, because he is only hurting the people around him. Dottie asks them to keep their spirits up and gives them some eatables and prays for their good health. Sang-woo collects all his toys and goes to the market. His grandmother gives him his video game in an envelope, but he refuses to take it as it did not have a battery, but still she puts it in his bag. He sells all his toys and brings a big white bear. While coming home, when he sees a slope on the way, he thinks of slipping from his handcart and coming down. But this game weighs heavily on him. He falls and his feet are scraped and his feet start bleeding. While he's on the way, a cow starts running after him, but is saved by the boy who bothered him last time. The video game that Sang-woo had been given to him by his grandmother. When he opens it, there was some money inside so that he could buy the battery for the video game. He sees Dottie, who was waiting for him. Seeing them, he can't hold back his tears and starts crying near them. Now Sang-woo has also started liking his grandmother. Dottie shows her a letter, which his mother had sent for him, and it was written that in a few days she would come to collect him. Sang-woo teaches his grandmother to write as she cannot speak. She tries her best to write, but she cannot write. Sang-woo starts crying, thinking that if she is ever ill, how will he know? He tells them that even if they send him a blank page, he will understand and come to them immediately. That night Sang-woo doesn't sleep. He writes some messages on postcards so that when he gets sick, his grandmother can tell him just by sending those cards. The next morning his mother comes to pick him up. She tells grandma to take care of her and tells her that next time she comes she will bring warm clothes for him too. She tells Sang-woo that you want to say something to your grandma, but he doesn't say anything. He gives them the cards while leaving. His grandmother calls him by hitting on the window pane. But Sang-woo tries to ignore them because he didn't want his grandmother to miss him after he left, but as soon as the bus starts to leave, he immediately runs back and waves his hand to them. Island. They say that children are true to heart. Sang-woo had also fallen in love with his grandmother. But perhaps it was written in his fate to be alone. She could not speak, but her love was reflected in her actions. He never let Sang-woo get into trouble. Grandma then walks alone to her house, and now she has to live her life alone until Sang-woo comes back, and we don't even know till the end of the story what Grandma wanted to say by folding her hands, and this is where the story ends.